Welcome to Bigfoot
and the Bunny.
This is a couple's journey into the mysterious,
the unknown, and the paranormal.
I'm your host, Chris Carr.
And I'm your host, Kristen Johnson.
Together we are Bigfoot and the Bunny.
And we're live. Happy Saturday. I'm your host, Chris Carr.
And I'm Kristen Johnson.
And you guys are having a wonderful Saturday. It's Serious Saturday as opposed to Thirsty Thursday.
Yeah, sorry about that.
And hope you guys enjoyed our beginning of Angel Week on Thursday night, where we talked about what angels might really look like through the text of the Bible and Dead Sea Scrolls and other things, particularly the Ezekiel's wheel. And that was fun to talk about, but they're not always like scary, strange looking creatures of higher consciousness. Sometimes they're beautiful. And we prepped you guys for today's show. We have a wonderful guest for you guys. Before we bring her on to show you her art and talk about her near-death experience, which is fascinating, it was a portal to her talking to angels. I wanted to talk about real quick. I saw a story this week, and I'm not going to lie, I got this on a Coast to Coast email, but let me show you the story. It's about a cattle mutilation. Let me just share this real quick, because it's kind of interesting, and I'm sure some of you are familiar with cattle mutilations and the thought that this is done by aliens, and this was a recent one. In John Day, Oregon, a mutilated bull mysteriously turned up dead at a ranch in Bear Valley last month with surgically removed body parts. According to a February 28th entry in the Oregon State Police log, a rancher called John Day Wildlife trooper to report the bull had been killed and mutilated on his ranch with its testicles, scrotum, tongue, and lips precisely removed. The cause of death is unknown. When he found the bull, it had likely been dead for a few days and was already decomposing. The 24-hour window in which an autopsy could have been performed had passed, but there were no signs of vultures, coyotes, or other scavengers around the bull. There are no tracks, no signs. There's no nothing, Carter said. And this is not the first cattle mutilation on his ranch. So, yeah, very interesting. This stuff still happens. I know Linda Moulton Howe.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
Has, presented people a lot of news on these cattle mutilations and over the years. And it's still fascinating, still occurs. A lot of people don't talk about it, but there it is. So let me pull that out.
Don't mind me. I'm still trying to get, of course, pages up.
All right.
Lots of pages.
We will replace that laptop at some point, because I think you just broke it with like your magic.
That's today, too.
Yeah, speaking of magic,
yes,
right?
Tomorrow it is the spring equinox, and I'm kind of all into this. And
that's right. We had a full moon this week that kind of coincided with this.
Yes,
so
and I can't wait. I resonate with Ostara, which Anne-Marie Young knows very well, and I'm still trying to bring pages.
Yeah. Hey, Ken Allen.
Hi,
Ken Allen
Ken.
of the Wizard's Table. I believe you have a show on today, my friend. So you guys want to look for the Wizard's Table on your Facebook pages after Bigfoot and the Bunny. And I believe you have a psychic. And I'm sorry, I forget her name, but we love your show. So another great show.
Absolutely, we love him.
Greg Koss also has a great show out there. Hey,
Yes,
Chris
he
and
does.
Kristen. Glad to be here. And
Hey,
Greg will
Greg.
be on our show on the coming month, I believe,
April.
and we're gonna be on his, so that's gonna be
Yes.
fun. A little trade-off.
Yeah.
We've done stuff like that with Ken, and I also wanted to give a shout out to our friend Robert Lindsay Milne, who recommended our guest
Yes.
for us today, and we were on his show, My Side of the Crystal Ball, recently. And you can probably find that on YouTube pretty easy, looking for My Side of the Crystal Ball. Robert's been a guest on our show many times, and we love him. Great Canadian psychic, from the gut psychic. And there he is.
There he is. Hello, Mr. Milne.
Yeah, I think I'm on with you now. Yes, you are, sir. And we look forward to talking to Robert some more.
Yes, we do.
And also want to give a shout out to our friend Gail. I don't see her out there yet, but she was on our show Thursday on Small, Medium, and Large podcast. We had Ellie Molina on recently, and Gail had her, and you got us. Man, what a great interview that was. Go check that out, Small, Medium, at Large on YouTube. So without further ado, let's get into our guest and tell you a little bit about her. Yeah, I got to go back to find the tab. Let's play Find the Tab in the live show.
No, at least it's not 80,000. He was very productive last night.
That's right. I closed some tabs.
And I went, oh my God, look at you. You removed some tabs. Good for you.
Right. Unlike this laptop, we have another computer here that is like extremely high powered, and it's only because I keep like 200 tabs up at a time. Yes. Yeah, that's how I stay in business over here.
How he rolls.
That's how I roll.
Me? Don't even come up. I don't even know where I am right now.
Anyways, our guest today is Susan Walter, and Susan is an intuitive visionary artist. After a near-death experience as a child, Susan was given the ability to see into the angelic realms, allowing her to see angels in their pure light form. She uses this ability to draw your angel portrait and relay messages and insights from your angels. Susan is also the artist author of the Solfeggio Mandala activation guides and meditation decks. She also creates healing art with a conscious heart from her visions during meditation. This is her way of connecting with the divine and to assist humanity to do the same and recognize the divine within ourselves. And we're going to talk about our art and show you some, and let's bring her right on and talk about that near-death experience, because it's terribly interesting. We love NDEs on the show. Hello, Susan.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so honored to be on your show today. Thank you.
We're honored to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you reaching out. And as mentioned, you did an interview with our good friend Robert Lindsay Millen recently, and I had seen it. And here's a little synchronicity, coinkadink. The day you messaged me, I had just watched that episode.
Yeah.
The night before, and I was like, "Wow, we got to get this person." And you sent me an email, or sent us an email at bigfootandthebunny@gmail.com, which, by the way, is the way you guys can reach us if you need emails for anything. And sure enough, there you were. I was like, "Wow,
it was synchronicity."
And that you're doing an angel week is awesome.
Yeah, we figured that would be neat. A lot of people think about what angels might look like to them. It seems like there's different hierarchies of them. Dionysus, the Aeropagulite, if I said that correctly, because I definitely screwed it up on Thursday when we were talking about this. Talked about 9 orders of angels, and some of these higher ones, like the cherubim and the seraphim,
and the
seraphim can look a little different than what we normally envision, or at least the descriptions describe different things. Ezekiel's wheel shows a wheel with eyeballs on it, and their wings are covered with eyes.
Gives them instructions to how to build it and how to build a structure for it.
Yeah, and if you take it literally, it's a very almost spooky kind of creature, right? And they always say things like "fear not" or that, but that's like a whole different kind of angel than, say, like a personal guide, and some of these other levels of angels.
Virtues.
I think everybody has, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, everybody has at least 3.
At least 3. Okay.
Yeah, the more you have, the more work you have to do, though. So.
Oh, is that how that works?
Really?
Oh my. Well, this room is probably full of them then.
Absolutely.
This is like a concert in here, and do your work, Chris and Kristen.
You're doing it. You're sharing messages and knowledge, and and helping everybody, understand these, concepts and things that we can't see with these 3D eyes. That, because there's so much more to our world than what we can see.
Absolutely. We definitely agree with you.
Absolutely. And I wish I had a better vision of what that is. So I'm always fascinated when people say, "Oh, I see, they have these mediumship abilities to the point of just having it on the spot where they can see, the guides around you, whether it be a relative or a guardian angel." Anne Marie Young says, "Oh boy, how many can a person have?" Yeah, Anne Marie may have a few as well.
Yes.
Yeah, most people are somewhere between 5 to 9. That's the average.
Wow.
Wow, is that right? And do you see them visually? I mean, obviously you paint them, so you must have some sort of psychic impression.
Yes, I do see them, but they are very transparent. It's kind of like seeing that ray of sunshine coming between the clouds. Yeah, yeah. So I do draw them more intensely than I see them. Partly because it's almost humanly impossible to draw or paint that, that translucent. And I want people to be able to see the drawing across the room
Mm-hmm.
and be able to connect with it.
Yeah. And do you think that being a creative person and doing the art and getting into a mode like do you get into sort of a trance state when you do your art that makes that connection clearer?
No, because I've been doing this for so long, starting out seeing my own right after my near-death experiences of 4 and 6. And then, it wasn't until actually 97 that they started showing me everybody else's.
Oh, wow. Well, let's rewind the tape a little bit and go back to those near-death experiences when you were 4 and 6. I find these fascinating. Can you tell us about them?
Sure. It was while my body was going through some life-saving surgeries. And I remember going to this park type setting where, massive, massive trees. Even these beings, the angels that are, 15, 18 feet tall, even they couldn't reach the branches. And I grew up on a farm in Iowa, so I had not seen trees at that size. I now is similar size to the redwoods in California.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow.
But and then there was just like all these little animals running around that I was used to, because growing up on the farm, I was notorious for going out and playing with the animals, and if there was a nest of mice or rabbits or snakes or whatever, I found it, and I would just gently play with them and then put them back in their nest.
Just a quick question: were you an only child, or did you have?
No, I am the oldest of 3. Okay. I have a younger sister and brother.
Okay, so at the time of this, though, you were kind of had time on your hands to play, because we were both only children growing up, and you find that you have a lot of time to go out and explore the forests and the creatures and that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, growing up on a farm, we pretty much, my parents, once we done with our chores, we could just go out and, roam the land and do whatever we wanted to. We came back when it was, time to eat or time to go to church. When we got hungry.
So you were raised in a religious background?
Yes, I was. Raised Lutheran Missouri Synod.
Okay.
All right. So you had these life-saving surgeries, and you found yourself, I guess, out of body?
Out of my body, and in this park setting. And when I was 4, it was more like they just wanted to occupy my time. They introduced themselves and then pretty much just asked me if I wanted to see the world through the eyes of the animals. And I had just pretty much just moved from animal to animal that I was pretty much familiar with. The one where I was 6, I did ask a few questions about what I was being taught in Sunday school.
Okay.
What kind of questions did you ask? And
I don't specifically remember which questions I asked. I do remember asking how long God's day was, because from my first experience and kind of seeing that energy source, and that energy was just so powerful, and it just seemed so big. It just didn't make sense to me that God's day was the same size as ours.
Right. And it seems like a human idea to have 7 days in this conscious universe that we live in, and one being a day of rest, right?
Right.
So it maybe is not the same as God.
That just didn't make sense to me.
Oh, that's a good question. Did you get a reply?
No. At least not one that I consciously remember. What I pretty much walked away with was the knowledge, that the message that what we were being taught was only like a small piece of the picture, and that we didn't especially in these human bodies, really couldn't understand the whole picture when you're in the middle of it.
I would say that's definitely true.
Mhm.
We talk about things like that. And one of the things we were mentioning, I think on Thursday and in recent shows, is how the things that we see and people we see really aren't really as they are. Our brain is always trying to make sense of things and puts images to stuff. And this is what causes pareidolia,
Pareidolia.
looking in the clouds, or, maybe you think you have a full body apparition, but it's really just kind of a reflection in the window type picture if you're into that sort of paranormal scene. Pareidolia is a word that gets tossed around a lot, as well as apophenia, because that's definitely a real thing, because your brain's always trying to make sense of it. And I think the example I used Thursday was, when I look at Kristen, I just see this beautiful woman. She's my love, and I don't see like a bag of bones and blood vessels and gizzards and stuff. So if I saw that, I might be horrified, right? It might change the relationship, with all people. And we see things, we don't really see everything. We only see a portion of the light spectrum. There's all kinds of things going on. We don't see x-rays, we don't see infrared.
Yeah, I'm into why and stuff about what we only see 33% optically,
of this light spectrum.
I really want to know what else.
So there's other things there. We don't really see things as they are, I guess is where I'm going with that. I don't get the full picture. So I'm fascinated that you see angels and how that works.
Yeah, well, to continue with the near-death experience, then after, even the second one, after asking my questions, again, I was kind of occupied with going from animal to animal, but at this time, it seemed like I went further, where I was even, at one point, it's like I was swimming in what I believe is the ocean, in a very large mammal. And then all of a sudden, it's like I was still swimming, but I wasn't swimming in the water anymore. I was swimming in space.
Wow.
And then I was taken to this place where I was shown like that moment of creation, what's often called the Big Bang. It looked to me more like a massive exhale of energy. Wow. And all these souls came from that. And then I was shown where it's like I was moving to the angelic realm. That was where I intended to go. But I was actually pulled aside, and along with two other beings or two other souls, and asked to become what is. They use the word planet creator. I'm still trying to understand what that means, but we were shown what it would be like if we did and what it would be like if we did not. The other two beings did not and continued to the angelic realms. I obviously became whatever, this planet creator is, that I'm still trying to figure out what that means.
Oh, that's fascinating. I mean, people talk about spirits of planets, and we also talk about panpsychism a lot, and it's kind of based off of animism, where everything kind of has a consciousness. They talk about indigenous cultures will talk about, the spirit of the wind, or shamanic cultures. And I think that's fascinating. Also, the planets themselves, throughout all sorts of systems of magic and occult writings, have had their own identities. So maybe that ties in somehow.
Yeah, and it's like, all these, energies and beings is, it's really not the right word, but it's the best word we can come up with as humans. But souls went to do like all these different tasks. And I don't fully understand everything I witnessed there. But it's like I continue to, as I, continue to research and study and meditate, I get a little more bits and pieces of understanding.
Well, life is a learning process, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yes.
You have to have such an experience where you kind of come upon a form of enlightenment. So this happens. When you said you were swimming in the ocean and then space, did you mention that? I thought I heard you say you were like a different kind of mammal. You weren't.
I believe it was a blue whale was the closest understanding I have, or that's what I believe it was. But I was looking out through their eyes, so I couldn't see, what I was inhabiting.
Oh, that's really interesting.
It's
A
just
couple
different
comments there.
perspectives, and it was quite beautiful and very calming, soothing.
Yeah,
That
it sounds nice.
Was
it sounds
it warm?
peaceful.
Did you have like a warm, tingly feeling? Was it?
I don't really remember physical sensations at all.
Oh, okay.
Now you were very
It
young.
was just visual.
It's interesting that it's something that would be comfortable to somebody who's 4 or 6 years old.
Sure,
The whale in the
yeah.
ocean. It seems like
Instead of being scary.
that would be kind of heavenly, right? So we've talked to a lot of near-death experience people on the show before, and they always describe this sort of beautiful afterside, but it's beautiful to them. And one of the things I've noticed about NDEs, or from reading about them, is that the experience can change based on like your culture. In Asia, they have it's kind of like a different near-death experience in general than we do, based on certain expectations of, I guess, what it would be. But it's always a beautiful thing and a beautiful experience.
Yeah, it was a lot like going home.
Is that what it felt like? Yeah.
Yeah, for me it did.
Back to source, back to home.
Yeah.
And then you see this kind of Big Bang event and our ever expanding universe. The other day I was reading about how a lot of scientists think now we have no idea how big that universe is. Everything that we might know or have been able to measure or see in some sort of telescope or think may only be a very small fraction because of that expansion.
Sure.
At one time we thought it was coming together because of gravity and was going to implode on itself eventually, but that changed.
It's amazing about the universe, but then again, you have to think about consciousness as well. Our consciousness.
Yeah, this big flurry of consciousness is coming out. Do you think that angels are a larger form of consciousness than the human experience is?
I think they exist on a different frequency than we do. Dimensions is another word a lot of people use. I think of them more as being different frequencies, and a lot of people use the term higher, lower. I really think faster, slower is a more accurate term, because higher, lower insinuates that one is better than another, and I don't believe that's true.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Low vibrational energies or entities, are usually relegated in conversation to being things like demons, where these high level energies are more or less related to angels. And you wonder if they're not really one and the same, but act differently for whatever reason. They have their own sense of.
I think they're just all functioning on a different frequency. And just like even we as humans, we are functioning at different frequencies. That's why some people, when that term, somebody's getting on my nerves, they literally are, because they're vibrating at such a different frequency that even communicating is difficult.
Yes, I definitely agree with you with that.
Yeah,
we do.
Yeah,
Yes.
Totally. Falls right in line with what we're trying to discover.
Right.
We always want to know the hows and whys. That's what we're about, trying to understand these things, where it crosses over into, say, paranormal events. We're kind of a paranormal show, but we're into mysterious, unknown, everything, ancient civilizations.
Everything.
We cover a lot of things.
I am very into vibrations and frequencies. I just love that.
So that's fascinating. Yeah. And you had the near-death experiences, and then you start to see angels in your life.
After I woke up from the surgeries, I just saw them all the time. I do remember trying to convey to my parents what I had experienced and what I had seen, but being so young, I just did not have the vocabulary to do it. And even the term near-death experience, even if I had heard it, didn't even exist yet.
True, that's true. I forgot what the year that came out. That's recent. That's an actual.
I think it was late 70s, early 80s, something like that. Yeah, and my experience was back mid 60s.
Wow. And you didn't really know what to call them. Nobody really knew. Did you tell your parents?
Yeah, I tried to, but it came across as stories of when I was a frog, when I was a snake, when I was a bird. Yeah, because I didn't know how else to convey what I experienced. And after a while, my dad said, quit telling these stories.
Oh, geez.
and was very blunt about it. It would be one way to put it, I guess.
Yeah,
So I
can
just
believe
quit
that.
talking about it.
With
I
the
did.
time and stuff. Even
Yeah.
today, you know,
And being so
people
young.
would be like, "Oh no, you know, something wrong with my child," and
Mhm.
you know, sure.
Yeah, it
Sure.
made my parents very uncomfortable. So yeah, at 7, they just told me to quit talking about it. So that's what I did. I just quit talking about it. Didn't quit experiencing it or seeing it or communicating, or just quit talking about it. And it was probably really into my 30s before I started talking about it with anybody again.
A few comments in our audience. I'll bring up real quick, and we'll get into that. Amy Jilly Freeman says, "I would love to have a drawing and message from my soulmate who passed away 2 months ago, and my brother died a year ago." And I think that is probably something you can help her with. And she should probably contact you, and we'll talk about your website. And
Yeah, but for the angels of somebody that has crossed over have gone with them and are no longer, you know, because that person was that tether and that connection to the 3D. So that angel is no longer present unless that person has reincarnated already, which
makes
usually
sense.
it takes a little bit longer. You know, occasionally people will reincarnate quickly, but usually not. They usually need a healing time between lifetimes.
Do you get the idea that there isn't much of a sense of time on the other side?
Yeah, when you're talking to your angels, if you're wanting, say, help with something and there's a deadline, for example, give them the full date, the month, the day, the year. Because what soon means to us and what soon means to them are two different things.
Excellent. Well, we'll talk a little bit about that. Now, do you do any sort of mediumship with the deceased?
No, I don't. I think the gifts I have are enough, and anything more than that, I think would be overwhelming.
Oh, they
Most
certainly
likely.
are.
Yes.
But no, it's fascinating. David Coran says, "When I passed, my soul was pulled to the light. When I crossed, my body had gold and silver from my fingertips all over my body. What does that mean? I'm in Iowa now."
I think seeing the energy, the grid pattern of the physical body. Yeah, every type of plant, every type of being, dogs, cats, frogs, whatever, all have different energy grids to be able to support them to be here. And I think he probably saw part of in his connection to that energy grid.
Oh, we totally agree. And that's where that
Yes.
panpsychism comes into play. We talk about trees a lot and the way they communicate. And there's been some very
Mycelium.
brilliant documentaries put out there about that. And try to enlighten people. And we have pets, and we think our cats, are definitely conscious. It's
We
a
know they're
different
conscious.
experience than, our own. Maybe, they
Right.
have their own cat experience and cat dreams and things.
It's a way of resting between lifetimes too.
Is that right? I've always wondered that.
Yeah, and to still be with loved ones or people in their soul group.
So a person may reincarnate as a pet to someone that they loved in another lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Fascinating.
So you don't believe that we go human to human? We're already human, and we're going to go to human. We're going to be.
We can, but timelines are different too. When you get, I don't think what we think of as linear time is a straight line, but I think it can actually, like a piece of paper, can fold and bend. And the order that you have lifetimes in may not be linear in the way we think of it.
I think Einstein used to theorize about time folding.
Bending.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we definitely agree with that. Yes.
That comes up when we talk about things like black holes and,
parallel
aging.
universes.
That's right. Moving at the speed of light.
It's like just
it takes 8 minutes for light to go from the sun to the earth. So if you moved at the speed of light, or you're of a consciousness or a fragment, fractal of such, and you were to move that quickly, there would be no difference in time. You would arrive instantly, right?
Right.
Everything is instant because there is no time as you move at that speed. So that's fascinating. So now you get into your 30s and more experiences happen.
Third in yeah. When I was in my 30s, I was starting to get involved with the metaphysical New Age community again. A friend of mine introduced me to the work of Drenville and Melchizedek. And I had even some pirated tapes of some of his workshops at the time.
I like that pirated tapes.
Yes, well, when you're a fan, you're a fan. I understand.
Yeah, and so I was really starting to kind of get involved in getting back into meditation, doing things like that, and started out with seeing sacred geometry and different patterns in my meditation, and after and was trying to kind of draw what I was seeing, but that's very straight line. I was literally sitting there with rulers and protractors and compasses, and wasn't intuitive at all in any way, shape, or form. And one day and it was in January of 97. And I was a stay-at-home mom at the time. I had 2 teenage boys and 2 toddlers.
Oh, so, goodness.
Kind of busy.
That's a handful. Right there.
Yes.
And
you need that day of rest.
And I noticed I was kind of sensing more of the angelic energy around me, but I really at the moment was really thinking it was more because of I was becoming more aware because I was in meditation again. But when I literally went to the grocery store and noticed I wasn't seeing just my angels anymore. I was seeing everybody else's. Kind of freaked out and left the grocery cart in the middle of the store and went home.
Oh my goodness. Wow. I think I would have done that too. But like, oh my God. You said, very overwhelming.
Gone straight to the packy, as we say in New England. So liquor store and the rest of the world.
Yeah.
I'm done. All right, have a good day.
From there as soon as I was able, I sat in meditation and started just going, what's going on with this? What am I supposed to do with this? All the questions that anybody would ask. And I got the very clear message that I was to find a way to paint or draw them. And so I spent the next 6 months kind of arguing and, I don't know what I'm doing. Because I'd been the last couple of years had been playing with colored pencils, but really had no idea. I was not an artist at that point. I had no idea what to do. And I said the watercolor was the closest to kind of what I was seeing. So I tried playing with watercolor. If anybody's done that, real quick, that's probably one of the most difficult mediums there is.
I would have to imagine it is.
It is.
The way it moves.
I've tried it. Yes.
It's way too easy to get way too much water involved.
It's kind of messy. I
remember that from childhood experiences and trying to watercolor and way outside the lines, it just bleeds across the
trips.
So I used pastels for the first few years. But then I still wasn't getting the detail. I was starting to, as it went, I continued to see more and more detail. Mm-hmm. So then I switched to color pencil, for that as well. And that's what I still continue to use for the angel portraits.
Oh, it's amazing. I actually thought you painted them.
No, they're, I do a watercolor wash on the paper ahead of time.
Okay.
Because they even show me what color paper I'm supposed to use.
Wow.
Because color is a frequency and a vibration too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know that too, because he plays the guitar. So when it frequency, you can tell the colors.
I can actually. And that comes from Shirley MacLaine, of all people.
Yes.
So are you have synesthesia then? Where you actually see sound?
I don't usually see it. Well, in a certain way. So I had this Shirley MacLaine video cassette. I'm going to go back to date myself here. VHS, when I was in high school. And, she talked about meditation and she talked about music and how certain notes within a scale, and it was like a basic C major scale, A minor, how those colors related to the particular notes. And I was watching it with a musician friend of mine. We played in high school together in like original bands and put all this time into our writing our music, you know. And we both agreed that she was spot on. And we looked at the relative major minor connection, like D minor appears as a green tone. And I mentally, without knowing it until I watched the video, had always thought of it as like a green song, you know, and then A minor, which is C major, was red. And it all fit within our set list, if you will. So yeah, I guess so on some level that synesthesia is there, but it's not, you know, at the front of my consciousness. I had to really think about it.
Okay.
But it all correlated, and we were both like, "Whoa, dude!"
So
You know, he's got a Zeppelin shirt on there. There's an angel from classic Led Zeppelin artwork, which is a little different, but I thought might be appropriate for our show. Maybe we can share some of your artwork with our audience now, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And we'll get a little more into that. Let me bring your page right up here.
Yeah, and the images of angels on the website are not other people's personal angels. Those are, it may be angels of the month, angels of the year, just different angels that come to me with different purposes. Some of the archangels.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are what you'll see on the website, but that just gives you a sample of it, what it is I want to see, or what it is I see. And then if you wanted to work with one of the archangels more intensely.
Well, that is a big thing, you know.
If you go under Angel Gallery just to there's where you can start getting into seeing some of the other.
Oh, okay. Let's look at some of the archangels here. That's fascinating.
Yeah, they're both archangels and what are called archaea in there as well. And archaea hold a more of a feminine energy than the archangels do.
I love that it's healing with a conscious, like the heart conscious, like a chakra.
Yes.
Yeah, they remind me of the chakras a bit. Let's look at Gabrielle, for example.
That's absolutely gorgeous.
I love it. And where do you see the symbol?
Yes.
It's like a shield.
Okay.
Some of the archangels carry different things. And you'll notice a lot of the archangels have like breastplates, like armor around their chest.
Sure.
I will also see that with the people's main guardian angels, the ones that have been with them, not just this lifetime, but all of their lifetimes in physical form. But those only show up probably around 10% of the time.
Go back to that. There we go. And these really are gorgeous. I love them. I'm assuming these are prints for $9.
There's prints available for those, all of those limited edition numbered prints.
Uriel. Yeah. I find the archangels very interesting. I've talked about Raphael quite a bit on the show.
Yeah, and
go ahead.
Yeah, one of them is even like Archangel Gaia. But Gaia is not an entity in the way that we think of it. Gaia is actually an office, just like Mary was an office back, or a position within the temple.
Like a role. Okay, so like
a role, as was Joseph or Joseph, however you want to pronounce that. Even Jesus was actually a position, a role within the priesthood.
Fascinating.
At least that's what I was taught. My grandmother, after my near-death experience, one of my grandmothers taught me some different things.
Now this one has what seems like butterfly wings, but could also be considered two sets of wings, which I believe is the same for the cherubim that we were talking about on Thursday.
There's a number, and even some of the personal angels. I will see like more than one set. I usually don't see more than 3, but occasionally I have.
Excellent. And see some new people out there. Stephen Woodward, owner of the Paranormal United Network.
Yes.
Paralinks that we're broadcasting on, saying hello. Hey, Stephen, how's it
Sorry,
going?
I spelled your name wrong. I was looking at the angels.
I see Greg is out there. Greg had mentioned that there was a lot of information there all at once, and that's because I think Kristen and I have both had a lot of coffee today.
Oh my God.
We apologize if I was giving you a little bit too much information there.
Sorry,
Greg. Why, and
it's not
Greg
only
is
that, my energy is off the wall, and honest to God, I just broke my the computer worse. So
Greg has that Shadow Hunters podcast that we will be
yes,
on Shadow Hunters Paranormal. So that's fantastic, and we are looking forward to that. So yeah, these are great pictures, and people can go to your website, SusanWalter.com, to look at them.
SusanWalterArt.com.
Art. I'm sorry, it's right there in front of me, and I'm reading it, and I still got it wrong. SusanWalterArt.com. Now I see sessions over here.
Yeah, that's where you can go in and book a session for the angel portraits, because I do it via Zoom, so I can work with anybody anywhere in the world.
That's fantastic. I think Robert mentioned that he was having you paint.
Yeah, I already did one of Robert's angels here a couple 3 weeks ago. That was fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So a person can go and are they going to get sort of a reading from the picture?
Yeah, they'll get information about what each of the colors mean, because that gives you an idea as to what type of energies that angel is bringing into your life and what lessons they're helping you with. So you can also, I do get a name at the very end. Now their names, to pronounce an angel's full name would take us about 15 to 20 minutes. So they spell for me a piece of that, because we need something easier, shorter than that. And the pronunciation is what feels right to that person. There's no right or wrong. If they want to abbreviate further, that's okay too.
Mm-hmm.
You can do numerology with that name then in the way that they spell it, and get some more information about their energy and their, as well. But usually I just sit and chat with somebody, and it is not unusual for people to walk away with homework, with YouTube channels to watch, books to read, things to research.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I can see that.
And does that language have anything to do with like John Dee's Enochian language?
I did with the Angels of the Month. I did see the Enochian language, but now it's I see more light language. And this started about 2.5 years ago. I started seeing light language on them, and usually it starts at the throat and goes down the center of their body. Occasionally I'll see some in the wings or going down their arms as well, but usually it just starts at the throat.
Wow. All right. That's fascinating. But you do see a little correlation. Do you think he was onto something? You're familiar with that?
Yeah, I think he did. But I think he was still trying to fit it into, and maybe the angels were doing this for him at the time because it's what humans were ready for, is trying to kind of fit it into a box that this symbol means A, this symbol is B, and for example, to make it a real, a human spoken language, almost written language. Where light language is much more about frequency. Because when you get down to it, everything is still frequency and vibration.
It is. And I have to admit, I just saw a weird reflection in your camera. And I don't know if that.
Yeah, and I know my arms are on my desk, so occasionally it's kind of vibrating.
Yeah,
I'm literally setting out my art desk.
It was like a light that went from like behind you and just shot up to the upper left corner.
Not a
so I'll have to.
Not
a dust orb, not an IR. Yeah, that was kind of interesting. I don't know if it was a reflection of something debunkable, but later after the show, I'm going to rewind that because that just caught my eye. That's good. And sometimes we have.
None of us are ever alone.
No. Now maybe help our audience a little bit and help us. Do you see like a ton of angels when just looking at us and talking in this kind of thing?
I have learned over time, just to make life a little easier for me, where I think of it as turning the volume down, where I see like the angels in like spheres of color that's constant. It's almost like seeing a snow globe full of glitter around somebody. And then when I sit with someone via in person or via Zoom with the intention of drawing an angel portrait, then just one will step forward, take shape, and define color for me. And that's how I know which one to draw.
Oh, that's excellent. And now that actually was going to lead to my next question, which was, after you had that supermarket experience where you started to see all these angels, how did you deal with that moving forward?
Yeah, so that took some time. Yeah, and when I first started even doing angel portraits, because I was a busy mom and then eventually a single mom, still having to have the corporate job, I didn't spend a lot of time doing it. It was kind of a part-time thing that I did once in a while on the weekends. I became real good friends with one of the owners of one of the local new age stores here in Kansas City where I live. And, I'd be there 3-4 times a year on a Saturday, doing angel portraits. And then eventually, as the kids got older, I'd occasionally do one of the metaphysical fairs in the area. Wow. And I still do those some, not as much as I used to, but I still do them some.
Nice. Well, those kind of events are a lot of fun.
Yeah, they are. And then, and of course, now all those people that are the vendors and promoters, they're all my friends.
Absolutely. I love that. A couple of questions.
It's our tribe,
Yeah, we
That's
get
right.
that.
That's right. Greg Koss mentioned, Susan, do you know Angela Boyley? She has same or similar gifts.
I've heard the name, but I'm not real familiar with her work.
That's all right. And he followed that up with, that is a remarkable necklace Susan has on. And it is. That is a beautiful necklace you have there.
I have to look to even see which one I'm wearing.
Did you make that?
I found the pieces and put it together.
It's wonderful.
Nice. Do you work with crystals?
Oh, definitely.
There we go.
Oh,
Yes.
The house is full of them.
Is that right? What is your favorite crystal and why?
Oh, gee. I don't think there is just one. Quartz crystal is still a favorite, and I love to go. I have a favorite mine down in Hot Springs area. I love the Coleman Miller mine. I just like the energy of that mine better than a lot of the others I've been to. But I also really love blue kyanite, and I think lapis lazuli. Those are, I see those and I just kind of go, oh.
Right.
We do too.
Yeah, but I play with a lot of different crystals. I think probably what I have the most of in the house though is shungite, because it is so, it helps protect us from all the EMFs and 3G, 5G and all that stuff that really, is not cohesive with the human body.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's the kind of black one.
Yeah, it's a black one that it works kind of like a black hole and absorbing that negative energy and transmuting it.
Okay, that's the next one on my list.
Nice. We'll have to add that.
Yeah,
ready?
I would definitely keep a chunk near your computer and Wi-Fi, TV, refrigerator, all that stuff that really puts off a lot of EMF frequencies.
We can't see again, like various telecom radiations, 4G, 5G, whatever it is, 3G. That stuff's all around us.
Yes.
At all times. So that's fascinating. I'm a fan of hematite, magnetized hematite. A lot of times I'll keep several of them in my pocket and just for drawing and repelling energies. Do you feel things when you hold your crystals?
Some more than others. Moldavite's another one I like to play with a bit.
Oh yeah,
I do too.
We got a little piece
even
of that.
wearing a couple pieces of it today.
Neat.
But, that one can be very helpful for me when I, if I am wanting information or connection to get answers to anything.
Couple of comments out there. Emery Young says, still have the black tourmaline and quartz you guys gave me in my bra.
Black tourmaline is another good one too for helping with the 5G and that. I like shungite a little bit better, but black tourmaline can be a great help too.
Greg asked,
how do those energies moving?
I think he's talking about the shungite, and that's SHUNGITE, Greg.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fascinating. Yeah. And the Moldavite, right? So Moldavite is a kind of a glass, really, that was created by an asteroid impact, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And it is getting more difficult to find, and the prices are reflecting that at the moment. Because there is, because it came from an asteroid, there is a limited amount of it.
Right.
I should have thought ahead of time. I've got some, and I would have shown it to everyone. But that is interesting, and we definitely feel stuff holding that Moldavite, which is strange.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the moonlight, in the
sunlight. Do you find other asteroid impact? I know there's other types of crystals that are created this way, and they're sort of glass. Do you find them as effective, or is there just something special
the
about that?
glass type ones? There's also the Libyan desert glass.
Right.
That is very, very ancient. There's still a lot of theories of how that one was actually created. And then, of course, volcanic glass, which is, obsidian is the one that, most people know about, and it's, probably the most common. And it is black, but there are other different colors of volcanic glass too.
I want some moon rocks, baby.
I do too.
I think somewhere actually just retrieved recently. I saw a news story. I was just looking for it. Brought back from China from the dark side of the moon. Made it back from there.
Yeah, I did hear something about that too.
Let's try to get a new laptop because kind of broke it. And before we get a moon rock, Chris. Sorry, guys. I'm going through this. And
it was beautiful. Yeah, the piece I saw that they brought back, it looked like it was a combination of all sorts of materials and maybe glasses. There was some green that looked like a gel in some of the craters that the Chinese rover had picked up on. And that was fascinating. And in the photo, it looks like a gel, but scientists are saying it's probably a glass from the impact. And it is green. And it's interesting because people often talk about green lights on the moon for years, like going back to the Apollo years.
There's a lot of rumors about what the moon really is.
Yeah, thousands of views, green lights. And for a while, a lot of people thought there were vegetation and different things. And I got to agree with you. I find the moon stuff very interesting.
We do.
I read Ingo Swan's book. And he talks a lot about the moon. And
not familiar with that person, but
very fascinating. I'll send you a link.
Remote viewer, and
he passed away, but he was a fantastic remote viewer. He actually saw the rings around Jupiter, and we had a space probe at the time, and this is going way back, going out there, and it would take a year for science to prove that those ice rings existed, but he drew them spot on at the time. But he had a lot to say about the moon and felt that there were civilizations living on the moon. I know a lot of the matter that has been brought back from the moon is much older than the Earth, thought to be, which is fascinating. So it's not really from the Earth that the moon cometh, if you will. And there's got to be some other theory, and there are different theories about that. But
there's even some theories too that our little galaxy here, or our little solar system, did not originate in this galaxy.
I've heard that. Yes.
Yeah, scientists, some believe they've actually even proved that, but unfortunately I do not remember the name of the galaxy they said that they believed we were from.
Wow. Well, I think the latest theory I saw on the moon's creation was that it impacted the Earth as part of a like an asteroidal event that would have been catastrophic because it's huge. And the pieces collected and formed the moon, but there's some vagary in there, and no one really knows.
Well, if it's true that we had another planet in our solar system that was destroyed, that would have moved and shifted, because of the magnetics of the different planets, that was shifted around everything, let alone the fact that, there's debris.
Yeah, the asteroid
Well,
belt. And,
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that asteroid belt is actually, the remnants of a destroyed planet.
Right.
Right. And these things are ancient, just so interesting. And for those of you that are interested, the book, because Ingo did have several books out, is a book called Penetration, where he goes into the moon stuff and some other things too.
Mm-hmm.
And what was his name again? Just because I want to look it up too.
Oh, sure. Check out Ingo, because he was a fascinating individual, a total character as well. INGO, and his last name is Swan with 2 N's. He has a book on psychic abilities that I read as well. He's the guy that actually coined the term remote viewing back in 1971, and had worked in the government Stargate projects and stuff. He was kind of one of the best at that. Mm-hmm. And he did some fascinating work. But remote viewing is very old. One of the things pointed out in a different book by him that I read was that back in the 1800s, we had this kind of psychic drawing systems were being done by things like the British version of the Psychical Society. Then, and they were doing experiments, and he shows some of those experiments in his books, and they're fascinating. People would get it just right, surprisingly so. So It's a subject that interests us.
Yeah, I'll have to look him up.
Yeah, he's good, cool to read about anyways, because he was a fascinating guy. So I recommend anybody check him out. Greg says Everybody's Guide to ESP. Yeah, there you go.
I just need to learn how to use it.
Right.
Exactly.
and trust it.
Ken Allen says I use Moldavite quite a bit in my practice. Well, there you go. Ken is an occultist, works in the paranormal, works on the Outcast Paranormal team. In fact, we may see Ken soon. I don't know how much I can say about that, but
no, don't.
I won't say anything. But yeah, he's a great guy. We love him.
Behave yourself.
Crystals. I wish I had brought some.
I wish I brought mine in, because I just
some with us.
did everything with them, and I brought them with me. So
yeah. So tell us more about this experience. So you have a way of shutting it down. You see these angels, but you can kind of put them into kind of like snow globes as a way of turning it off.
Yeah, it's a kind of turning the volume down is the way I think of it. So I can makes it a little easier to go to the grocery store.
Yeah, really clairvoyant people
yes.
talk about this a lot. Like when they see spirits, and in their case, usually, that kind of thing, and all the time, the biggest problem that they have is not seeing them and getting a little peace of mind and not hearing the voices all the time. So that's a real thing with angels as well.
Yeah. And to be honest, because this started for me at such a young age, I really don't remember much before. I have a couple of vague memories about, a great grandfather that, passed before I had my near-death experiences, but that's really about all I remember.
Now, you were going to say your grandmother taught you something. She had mentioned,
she was of a particular bloodline that a lot of people talk about.
Okay.
With some, history going back to Scotland.
Okay, so Strega.
I usually don't talk about this, but her maiden name was Saint Clair.
Okay.
So you can about imagine some of the information that came through that.
Wow. All right. This sounds fascinating. Jot that down.
But, she was my grandmother, but I'm actually not related to her by blood.
Oh,
okay.
My biological father, was adopted.
Wow. But it was an influence on you nonetheless.
Yes, a very good influence. And to be honest, if it hadn't been for her support, I don't know that I would be doing what I'm doing today, to be honest.
Wow.
She was interested in spiritual things, and about age 10, I think it was, she started letting me borrow her books. So I started out, reading about different faiths. And I think that helped open me up and help me understand a lot of things as well.
Wow, absolutely. That's fascinating.
Absolutely.
And most 11-year-olds are not interested in reading about Buddhism, but I was.
Right?
Right? Yeah. Theology isn't usually the top subject.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You mentioned Buddhism as in voodoo?
Boo.
No, Buddhism.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that
Udon.
was one of the very first faiths that I started reading about.
Do you see correlations between that and the other religions?
I see threads connecting them, yes.
Okay.
I think there is a common ground if you go back far enough.
Mhm.
Yeah, and all religions are still created by man. God didn't, or creator, whatever word you want to use, didn't create any of them. We did. So it's all us. Science is one way of trying to understand creation and, and the world we live in. Religion is just another way.
Agreed.
That's the way I think of it. So.
I think the world needs more spiritualism. I really believe that, whatever it is, through whatever religion or not religion, but I think there needs to be more spiritualism and not just science.
More love.
Mm-hmm.
We're raised in such a material world, and everything is about the materialists and, following equations rather than experiences. And
if you go back to people like Plato and some of the things they talked about, in that time period, science and spirituality were not separate. They were one.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Socrates. I mean,
Yeah.
He drank the hemlock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
he did.
He did. He killed himself because of his muse, his angel. His
stuck
muse.
to his guns.
Told him, didn't tell him not to. So,
but you're right. I think those things were more closely related, even in things like alchemy.
Mm-hmm.
There was a spiritual side to it as well. And the aforementioned animism, which we want to call panpsychism now and talk about more in consciousness terms, as opposed to spirit. It was a bigger to do, and people don't even think that way. It was shocking to even us with our open minds that trees communicate the way that they do, and they know their offspring, and they're talking to another living creature called mycelium, which is related to mushrooms and fungus that grows under lawns and that sort of thing, and sending nutrients, cutting off other trees,
the forest,
that sort of thing. And all this stuff is going on around us, yet we, not really cognizant of it.
Because we can't see it with the 3D eyes. So we don't,
exactly.
We gotta, what's the Missouri motto? I'll believe it when I see it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, right. Joshua Dixon says, yes, more love. Yes, absolutely.
Yes. That's
like Susan, you have beautiful gifts.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah. So it looked like you actually had quite a few different things on your website, singing bowls and that kind of stuff. Do you like
I was part of a meditation group that the group started because we were studying the Mayan calendar.
Okay.
And then, which we did for several years. But then we'd end each one of those meetings with, just 5 minutes of a crystal bowl, crystal singing bowl. And the second I heard them, I fell in love. But at the time, I didn't trust my children not to break them, as 3 rambunctious boys can be.
Yeah, I understand that.
So I collected metal ones for a while, the pounded Tibetan bowls, and learned to play with those. And then eventually started collecting crystal singing bowls. And then now actually all my bowls are not only crystal, they're also, each of them are a different Solfeggio frequency.
Oh, wow.
Can you talk about that? Yeah. So I mentioned the Solfeggio frequencies on your website. And I think that's fascinating. Just a side note, I bought my daughter one of the pounded metal ones for Christmas. I'm not sure she's got it to sing yet. We were talking about that recently.
Yeah.
But I think it's beautiful when
Yeah, the
Top one.
pounded ones are the most difficult to learn how to play. If you can play the pounded ones, then you're going to have no problem playing the poured metal ones or the crystal ones.
Fascinating. I'm not too familiar with the crystal ones, so maybe you can tell us a little bit about that and
Please,
Solfeggio.
The bowls, they are made out of reconstituted quartz crystal. There's only like 3 companies in the world, at least that I know of, that make them. And of course, 2 of them are in China. But we do have one here in Utah, here in the US, and they also will infuse a lot of them with other different stones as well. But yeah, when they are actually those very specific hertz frequency of a solfeggio, that is not something that can be planned. It's just something that happens sometimes.
Okay.
Because the solfeggio frequencies based on Pythagorean math.
Okay.
They are all 3 digits, and they always and no zeros, and they always add up to 3, 6, or 9.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because Tesla said if we understood 3, 6, and 9, we'd understand the universe.
That's
That's
right.
right.
That's right. Yeah,
One of
I've seen a little of that before. That's
heroes.
Yeah, and oddly enough, I was born on 3/6, March 6th. So I've always 3, 6, and 9 were always a big thing for me. I had no idea.
Wow.
I actually didn't learn about the solfeggio frequencies until 2011.
Okay.
When a local healer here in Kansas City was doing a little workshop on them. And he was also a musician and created music based on those frequencies, using those frequencies. And I had just started playing with mandalas and had gotten an old antique toy called the Hoot Nanny.
Nice.
Nanny.
Yeah, there really is a toy named that. It's an old metal toy.
That's what my grandfather used to say because he was Texan. So, hoot nannies.
Yeah, but it's the grandfather. It's the grandfather to the spirograph.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So I was creating mandalas based on some of the line work from this old antique toy.
Wow.
And he had seen those and asked me to just see what happens if, when I, create a mandala based on those frequencies. And he only knew about 6 of the frequencies. Well, I started doing research and found that there's not 6 frequencies. There's actually 9 sets of 9 frequencies.
That's just like the angels, the 9.
Yeah, so a total of 81 frequencies.
Magical number.
Yeah, and that was a 7-year project then for me to create a mandala for each one of those different frequencies.
81
Oh my goodness.
frequencies. It's interesting. On a side note, my birthday numbers are 12369. My daughter's is 12399.
That's beautiful.
That
It's
is one of the mandalas.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Gosh, that absolutely gorgeous.
That particular one is frequency 135 from the Pleiadian set, and that one's about karmic reset.
Really? So, what is your take on the Pleiadians?
Yes, I was just going to ask that.
Yes. Crossovers.
Yeah, I think they exist in a slightly faster frequency than ours, so I don't think they're quite as solid as we are, but they definitely have a far more advanced understanding of some kind of science that we haven't figured out yet.
That you feel like they definitely exist. And
Oh yeah, they definitely exist. Definitely.
The same thing as, say, an angel.
Yeah, it's anybody that thinks that we're the only beings in the world is on an
Yeah,
angel.
no, yeah.
No,
Yeah, really think we could us in our petty little lives got entertained the creator all by ourselves? No.
Right.
Right. And I hear a lot of talk about different races of aliens, and Pleiadians is probably the one I hear the most. And I just wonder how that all came to be. I'm still a little cloudy on it. I don't deny their existence, and that they may be of a greater consciousness, like something like an angel, than ourselves.
Yeah, sometimes I kind of think of them as with the same race that Spock was from in Star Trek.
Vulcans.
The Vulcans, yes. Yeah, they're kind of like them, a little more advanced than we are, but yeah.
So,
But still, still,
Like very
physically
logical.
exists just in another,
Yeah.
so how about do you know about the Nords and the tall whites?
Yes. I've actually had some experiences myself with tall whites as a child.
Oh, interesting.
That is
Could you tell us a little bit about
wonderful.
The one experience that is the most vivid for me, my brother was probably like 3, so I would have been 10. We were still living on the farm. My bedroom was on the second floor of the big farmhouse that we lived in. And mom and dad were gone. The babysitter was in the house because my brother was a handful. But babysitter was with my brother and my younger sister. I was up in my room, and it was right about dusk. And I went to my window, one of the windows in my room, and from there I could see the garage, the machine shed, and quite a few of the other outbuildings. And this being walked out of the garage, and it was tall enough it had to duck its head to get out without, and I just stood there and stared at it, and it's like it knew I was had seen it, because it just stood there and stared at me. How long we stared at each other, I do not know. And then all of a sudden it hit me that this isn't normal.
Right.
And got a little scared, and turned away. And then I just told the babysitter that there was somebody in the garage. And his dad came over, and of course, nobody saw anything. But I for years didn't really understand what I had seen until I was probably in high school, and I started seeing the stories of the grays. But I kept saying, but what I saw was way taller, and it was white, but it was a very similar body shape.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it felt the energy from it. It felt lonely. Like it was there by itself for some reason. And I almost got the sense that like it was starving.
Oh, wow.
There was something it needed, whether it was spiritually or nutritionally, I don't know, but there was something it desperately needed that it was not able to get.
What do you think they do eat, if you don't mind me asking? I know it sounds like a simple question, but it actually plays into some of the topics we talk about, and say demonology and the stealing of consciousness
and energies
and things of that.
I have no idea.
Anything we really can offer them? Like I mentioned cattle mutilations at the front of the show. I don't know if you could see that on your set. Like what role does that have with these alien beings? You think they're really doing biological experience?
I really don't know. And I grew up on a hog farm. My dad, raised hogs, but my uncle that lived just maybe a mile up the road, because my mom's family had been cattle farmers ever since they came to the U.S. in the 1850s.
And so you have no real experience, but did you ever see anything like that? Like were the hogs ever mutilated? Or?
Not that I ever saw, and I don't remember my parents ever talking about anything like that. But there is a window of time right before we left the farm that my mom sometimes refers to as the mysterious time, and she will not talk about it.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh, that is mysterious now, isn't it?
Yes. And I have numerous times, because my mom is still alive. My dad has passed, but my mom's alive, and she still won't talk about it.
Not to this day. Wow.
So
seen something.
There could have been something that happened. I do remember during that time, My dad, my uncle, my grandfather, and some of the other local farmers getting together and saying that there was a pack of wild dogs that were killing animals.
Okay.
But I never saw any packs of wild dogs, and I was roaming that farm all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because our farm and my uncle's, it was all connected. So that there's 600, 700 acres back then that us kids and my cousins, we were down by the creek all the time, just walking all over the place.
I understand. I grew up on a farm as well.
Yeah. So what that whole thing about the trying to kill the pack of dogs was really about has always raised my suspicions.
Yeah. It's
Maybe that was something.
Yeah, so maybe there was something going on, and they just didn't want us kids to know about it because they were, didn't want to scare us.
Sure.
With a religious background too.
Yeah.
Yes.
And maybe even they didn't wrap their head around what was really going on at the time.
Probably not. Yeah, they probably couldn't.
Yeah, because you're talking the early 70s.
Sure. It's different times.
Now, do you think that the Nords or Pleiadians, do you think they choose to be seen by certain people like with gifts?
Or any alien race?
Yeah, I do. For those that are ready. Because I actually feel like if we're not ready to see them, say there's a ship up in the sky. If you're not ready to see and understand that that's there, you're going to see it as a cloud or a plane or whatever fits into your conception. Even back when Columbus first came to this continent, they say the indigenous people did not see his ships right out in their own bay for days. The shamans first saw that there was something different going on with just the waves and the water. And he stared at it long enough that eventually he saw the ships.
Oh, wow. I never knew that.
Because didn't have the concept.
The words to wrap.
Or the words for something like that.
Right.
Yeah, we've talked about that in context of psychic experiences on the show and like clairaudient experiences, which we both experienced, and why, recorders didn't pick up something we clearly heard, was yelled at us and that sort of thing. And also, people will talk about like an apparition sighting. You'd have a group of people that, 3 of the 5 people see it, but the other 2 people maybe weren't ready, and just even though they were looking in the same direction, they did not see the apparition. It's just fascinating. So it's like a mental preparation that can carry over, I would think, to aliens and angels as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because really, even religion, angels really aren't talked about that much. There's only 3 angels even mentioned in the Bible.
That's right. And I think the Christian church only recognizes 4 archangels.
Yes.
And one of them isn't even mentioned, right?
Yeah.
So there's like Raphael, Gabriel, Michael, and Uriel.
Yeah. Now, if you go into the Jewish teachings and you go into books other than just the Torah, they are talked about quite a bit more.
Right. And in the Dead Sea Scrolls as well, right?
Yes. And in the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Nag Hammadi texts as well, they're talked about.
Right. I believe in the First Testament, none of them had wings, which is an interesting thing to know.
Yeah. And my understanding of them is, beings made of light don't need wings.
True.
That's part of their energy pattern. Part of their, we often call it aura. And that's, in the angels that I draw, that's, I've seen similarities in the wing patterns, but I've never seen anything exactly alike. Even when one time I did identical twin girls. It's, the wing patterns of their angels, it's like they were flipped in color. they were just the opposite. They were very, very, very similar. And that's probably the instance I've seen of wings being the most similar.
Wow.
We think it's fascinating that that what predates Christianity, those cultures like Mesopotamia,
Sumerian.
Sumeria, Sumerian, Sumer, they often had gods that were depicted with wings as well. Often with sets of wings. That was one of the things we were talking about on Thursday. If you go into those ancient art, you look at the old statues, and you'll see these kind of hybrid animals and multiple sets of wings, or a man with
Chimeras.
2 sets of wings.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and they were referred to as messengers, which, and another old word that was actually often used before the word angel was daemon, which
right. We're familiar with that, and it's where kind of demon comes from, right? Daemon, Daimon, and I know angel translates it to what, angelos or something in Greek, but it comes from the word messenger.
Right.
They were messengers. God. And I think that's interesting how they sometimes are hybrids, though, in these kind of pre-Christian ways. And then you can look into demonology, and you see things like in the Infernal Dictionary. All the artwork shows things like Asmodeus having multiple heads,
just
kind of like
the cherubim.
Ezekiel's wheel, where he's got 4 faces.
The cherubim,
Right. It's just interesting. It's very, very similar.
Yeah, and it's interesting in the culture from India and Tibet. They often also predict, show beings with multiple faces. But then instead of wings, they show multiple arms.
Right.
Maybe that was just their way of interpreting.
In the Hindu traditions, you see that
have the language of the
Shiva.
time. That's interesting too. I like that.
That's a good point.
Yes.
And one we hadn't brought up. How important is meditation to you?
That's what I was going to ask you. Yes, I've been waiting to ask you that.
With all the things going on our planet right now, the intense energies that are coming to our planet and the shifts we're getting ready to, we are slowly transitioning through and have been for a few years, but they're getting more intense. I think meditation is crucial.
Absolutely.
From if nothing else, for mental well-being.
That's right. We absolutely agree with you.
Agreed. And we've gotten into meditation ourselves, but why do you think what has changed in our culture and societies? You think that is driving people to need to meditate more?
And it's not just cultural. If you get understanding, because of the wobble of our planet and us moving through the different astrological signs, we are moving from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius. That going through those 12 signs is often called the Great Year. That takes approximately 25,000 years. So our whole solar system is moving through this, and every 25,000 years we move through a certain section of space where there is more photonic light, which creates a shift in consciousness.
Okay, I thought it was 26,000 years. I'm sorry.
Maybe it is. Like 25,920 or something.
Yeah, exactly. We're close enough.
We're around it.
Yeah, we're right in that window.
Right.
But and from what I understand in the research that I have done, every 3rd or 4th time we go deeper into that cloud or that ring. Some people refer to it as a ring as well, but and a lot of us believe that it is this time that we're going even deeper into that cloud, and it create so we're kind of at that point. It's darkest before the dawn. That seems to be right where we're at the moment.
Our solar system, our sun right now is really bad with the CMs and the
it's very, very active.
Right. So that goes with the 26,000 or 25,000 cycle.
And some people believe that every periodically in Earth's history we have had major solar flares
Yes.
that have altered that Libyan desert glass that we mentioned about an hour ago.
That's right.
That could have been created from one of those solar blasts, those CMEs that actually hit Earth.
Absolutely.
Sure. There was one in the 1800s that took out the telegraph system,
telegraphs. Yeah.
which was the phone system at the time.
In fact, we actually have one today that's coming through.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, it's supposed to be hitting. Yeah. And then there's another one, I believe, on Monday.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another.
We follow some of that. It's been pretty interesting.
It's
There's been some kind of
right
scary
now,
ones
so.
out there. There was one that shot off the back of the sun, thankfully not toward us, about a month ago. That was huge.
I remember hearing about that one. And I have followed that more closely than I am right now, but I do get notifications when things happen too.
To correlate together. So yes, we've been
because the chemistry of the sun and the chemistry of the photonic cloud are interacting, and it's creating this part of what's happening.
Sorry, what is the photonic cloud?
My understanding is it's just more of a very pure light that once it hits the physical body, particularly the pineal gland, that it activates it.
So it's something people have, like an aura kind of thing. It's like a photonic cloud around people, or
because it activates the pineal gland. It does. It will affect the physical 3D body as well as the magnetics of your physical body that creates the aura.
Wow. Oh, fantastic. I wasn't familiar with that terminology. That's pretty cool. So it's tough when you talk about things like the age of Aquarius and age of Pisces, because they are so huge. Like people don't have the memory, of like what the last one was like.
We have a song for that though, from the memory. So there you go.
Yeah. Shifting through each one of the different zodiacs, or, each time we make that shift, some are longer than others. Some are a little shorter, but they're approximately every couple thousand years.
Wow.
So,
like civilization changing events.
Yes.
To be running in like, I don't know, about half that time, right? About 11,100, 600 years 600. Or so. Yeah.
Which was probably,
so they said. Yeah. I don't know.
Younger Dryas period, and also that big CME. I believe it was both that wiped them out.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And it has wiped out cultures on our planet far more advanced than we are.
Absolutely agree with you.
Yeah. We know about Göbekli Tepe and some of the tepes out there that are pretty ancient. But I think they're going to find more. I think there were probably civilizations around Pangea. We don't even know about, that could have just.
Yeah, I think they'll find massive amounts of stuff underneath the sands in the Sahara.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. We agree, because once it was an ocean, but we don't know what it was before that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I know. I even recently drove through the White Sands, New Mexico.
Oh, I've been there. It's beautiful.
Just how it goes from tan desert sand to this white, it makes no sense.
No, it doesn't.
It just switches like that.
My cousins, my uncle, he's deceased now, but they lived in Alamogordo, and they took us to the White Sands. He was an Air Force pilot, and I asked him, my mother asked him one day, do you guys believe in aliens? Because he worked over there. And he says, I can't tell you, but or have aliens or house aliens or something. He says, I can't tell you, but yeah, I believe in them. That's all. I was 6 years old, and that bothered the hell out of me till this day.
Yeah,
so
right. You still think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Arizona's like that too. And you go to the Red Desert. Hey, I've been to Arizona's airport. I had a short layover. I didn't get to really explore Arizona. It was for work, but I flew in. I just could not believe how red that sand was. It was so different than the rest of the flight.
Why is it white? We got white sands. It's all.
Yeah, and and we've got to ask, what really created things like, the Grand Canyon.
Sure.
Right.
Supposedly it was glaciers. So
glaciers.
But if you really look at the science of it, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, the plates are very interesting too,
Oh,
right?
yes.
The plates
Mhm.
that Ring of Fire and those sort of things, and the earthquake patterns that we see
Mhm.
building, and if you watch certain YouTube channels, they'll have you in a panic all day long. But
Yeah.
Oh
um,
yeah.
there is something to it.
Yeah.
There are some weather criers out there. They're a little bit like
Don't
the,
mention
the
them.
prophets of old. We're all gonna die.
Yeah. Every
Oh
day.
yeah. Yeah.
Pigs don't fly or something like that. Don't do that.
Well, when you get down to it, though, the only thing any of that can hurt is the physical body.
Hmm.
The soul, who you truly are, will still continue to exist.
What do you think happens in a mass extinction event to all those souls? Big
Yeah,
question.
Heady question.
yeah. And I'm thinking, the last massive, thing that happened on our planet was, World War II and the, Holocaust and things like that. But yeah, those souls go to some place where they can first heal and rest, because they have been through something traumatic.
Mhm.
So they need to heal from that. And then when they are ready, and that's going to be made, by each individual soul, if they choose to reincarnate or not, and how they choose to reincarnate.
Do you believe in multiverse theories
Yeah, I do.
with the expanding
I'm
universe?
still trying to figure
Like-
that out, though, and
Right.
really wrap my head around it.
Yes, us too.
I watched something on an expansion of the universe. I think I might have mentioned it earlier. How we really have no idea. It seems like it, from what they can measure, the universe just may be so much bigger than everything we know right now, that we're only this
Yeah.
small fragment or fractal, of something that is actually much larger and only getting bigger. So the
Right.
idea that there could be an identical planet with identical people and identical sort of situations, that maybe souls could go here, or consciousness could, exist on this other almost identical planet. It seems more likely than not.
Yeah, it really does. And we've had some interesting, different sci-fi shows talk about different things like that.
Oh, and timelines.
Yes.
We both
Yeah.
had some timeline dreams that were interesting.
And then you could get into the whole even Mandala effect.
Mandela
Sure.
effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Based on Nelson Mandela.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and because there are things from my childhood I remember one way, and everybody says no, it happened this way.
But it didn't. It happened your way. We understand.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
yeah. I thought Nelson Mandela had died too. I know I did.
What do you think about CERN? Do you think they have anything to do with this?
I think that is a distinct possibility. I've always thought they were messing with something they shouldn't.
Yes.
No,
Yes. I
getting
do
into
too.
to quantum. I mean, it's a particle
There's
accelerator,
fashion.
right?
Yeah, and what's interesting is if you look at the picture of a particle accelerator,
Mhm.
and then you look at some of the temples in India and Cambodia, there's some very interesting similarities.
There is. And they have Shiva in the front. Did you ever see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Why? It's like, okay, it's science and everything, and they have a big statue of Shiva in the front.
Yeah.
And yes, I agree with you. I've seen that before. We have.
Fascinating. Yeah. Well, you can look at the microcosms, right, of quantum mechanics and what that is, and it kind of looks like solar systems, and you see these kind of groupings starting at a subatomic level, and it become collections of things that are very similar as they grow. And some of them can be a consciousness that maintains sets of them, like our own human bodies, which have all these other living things that we're not really aware of, but it's right there, connected, starting at a subatomic particle level. Quantum mechanics is just fascinating. We've learned a lot from having the show. We're very lucky to get to talk to people like you.
Yes, we're very fortunate.
It's such a gift, to hear everybody's insights into what these phenomena are and could be, where the electrons may go. It seems like manifestation to me is tied directly to that, these waves of electrons and how they can
Frequency
be in
and
two places
vibration.
at one time, which has been proved. Science has proven it can exist in two different places and do exactly the same things, yet it's unpredictable, and it's totally unknown until it's observed. Then our behavior changes upon our conscious observation. Fascinating.
right.
Yeah, and it's fascinating how they've taken like DNA from somebody and then moved them into another room or halfway across the country and have them say, watch a scary movie, and that DNA back in the lab reacts the same way that that person did. It's just bizarre.
Oh, that speaks to the electron thing. That's fascinating. I wasn't aware of that. They've seen that in DNA, actually, huh?
Yes, they have.
I'm going to look into that because I think that's pretty neat.
And if they when you pull out pull DNA into a string and then slice the string, it is this pattern called the seed of life.
Oh wow. Oh, that's beautiful.
That is really pretty. Did you make that?
No, I did not. I am not a silversmith. I have many talents, but that's not one of
them. You were making something before we came, a bracelet before you came on the show. So I was wondering if you were doing
you definitely do have a lot going on. I'm going to share your website again, just so people can get an idea. And we want to send people there to check out your stuff.
Yes, please.
Let's see.
Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This has been an excellent talk.
Yeah, it's been a fun chat.
Yes.
We've gone all over talked about so many different things.
Absolutely.
And it's not very often I get to talk to people about all this different stuff that I read and research and then meditate on, going, okay, does it, how does that fit? With my understanding.
Right. And that is something that we all kind of do, right? Like we're constantly researching stuff and trying to get a better idea, like what is this and what did that mean, and looking for synchronicities and that sort of thing.
Yes.
And understand our world, our consciousness,
trying to put science into it, and it's
science as it exists today.
I love what you do.
These are beautiful.
Beautiful.
This
piece is right behind me.
I love that one. Oh, you missed it. Ian would like that one too, with the triple goddess.
That one you just showed, that one actually does have a glass like test tube on it, and then right now it has like a piece of blank papyrus, so you could write a message or a prayer to that particular angel.
Oh,
wow. The material and the
I love to play with different textures in my work. So there's sand from different locations, from a lake nearby, from the Caribbean, from white sands. There's ash from the incense on my altar.
Oh, I love that.
There is a stone on that. There's a piece of preonite is the stone on that particular. Yes. Yeah. I love to put stones in my work.
We like you more and more right now, especially that you just said you save your ashes. We do too.
That is beautiful.
That is beautiful.
Yeah. And I just had somebody give me about a half a pound of, it's now dried, but it was the clay that from around a crystal cluster that they themselves dug when they were at, near Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Oh.
So I want to incorporate that in a piece. It's
beautiful.
There you go. It's a mandala. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, that's and then I've been given channeled the information about what each one of those different frequencies can help you with.
Wow. It's incredible. I've never seen anything like it. It's very unique. You're very unique, and that's great.
I love this. And a lot of information.
We all bring our different gifts, don't we?
Absolutely.
We sure do. And that is really cool. And I'm sure our viewers love it.
Ian.
Some great comments out there. Ian says, great show. Awesome show. We'd like to thank everybody for listening.
Especially.
This has been a lot of fun. Yes. This has been great. We'll have to do this again. We'll look at another topic and have you come back. We'd like that if you're interested.
Just let me know when.
We could go all over the place.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How deep down the rabbit hole do we want to go?
That's very true.
It's all about the journey. Yeah, this has been great. Well, stick around. I'm going to just wrap up the show real quick, and we'll say bye. And we'll be back on next Thursday. Thanks everybody for watching. Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you again.
Greg and
I'll see you
Steven.
soon.
Ken Allen, who has a Wizard's Table at 6:00. Don't forget.
Yes.
And all our friends.
Amy Jolie is
Yes, out there. Thank you for your questions and comments. And big thank you to Susan, of course, for joining us.
Yes.
I will be back next Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern on these very same channels for a Dark Horse Paranormal podcast. We'll see you then. Have a fantastic week.